Welcome everyone to today's coverage of the Indy Karting Challenge. It's the PM portion of today's finale as we look to see how things close out for this season here in Whiteland, Indiana. Justin Prince alongside Caleb Viesca as we get set for our final sessions of the season. Today it's 206 Sportsman, 206 Cadet, 206 Medium, 206 Junior, 206 Masters, KA Senior Masters, all to close out their seasons here today. Caleb, it should be an exciting day as we get ready for qualifying. The racing, some great racing this morning. Your thoughts entering this afternoon?
Yeah, no, it's been a great day of racing so far here, Justin. I mean, it's been a pleasure able to share the booth with you so far early this morning. We talked about the track layout and a whole lot of other stuff as well coming into this weekend. The layout's really provided some great racing action so far this morning for the morning sessions. We're excited for the afternoon sessions here as well. We're expecting, again, some good drafting opportunities in what's supposed to be a good day of racing here in the afternoon. So we're excited to see how it kind of all shapes up. First off, we're going to start with the qualifying sessions, which is, again, going to be exciting for us to watch here as well. But what have you thought so far of the racing, Justin? I know you've, I guess you've asked me, but I haven't yet had the chance to ask you.
Well, to answer that question, so far it's been interesting to say the least. You've had a mixture of calm races where it's quite simply getting the seat time, getting into a rhythm, make sure there's no mistakes, make sure you do a good job, make sure the speed's there in the kart, get to the checker flag, simple as that. But others, it's been like a wrestling match in some of the circumstances in the battle, especially what we've seen in some of the mid-packs today. It's been critical to be able to have good track position from the onset, at least to me. And in a lot of these races, that's ended up being the case where if you end up wrestling too long, it's hard to catch back up and gain the time lost. So today, that seems to be the case, really, especially with this layout, especially with this extra little bit of straightaway, even in the front stretch, that has not seen things really pick up into the corners. It's been more so today. A lot of cases, we've seen the racing pick up in the last few minutes of each of the races as to be expected. So to answer your question, it's been interesting, to say the very least.
Yeah, no, we're excited to see how this afternoon kind of plays out. The 206 racing, I think, was some of the best that we saw earlier on today. The drafting and all that we saw was super interesting in my eyes as well, to see how this layout was going to kind of race, as well as some of the two-cycle categories with the micro Swifts and mini Swifts as well. So that'll be exciting to see. But the Sportsman class, I mean, always packed with numbers, always having a lot of drivers in it. So I'm excited to see how this one kind of shapes up, as the Sportsmen have shown to be some of the superstars as well that we have here this weekend. So that'll be exciting as soon as they get into full song here, as they get up to speed. But again, just qualifying session for those of you watching on at home. Just the qualifying sessions, and we'll see how they shape up to define where they're going to start whenever we get underway with the heat races.
So once again, 206 Sportsman now on the racetrack. This season, Dominic Gaddis leading the way in points, has picked up the last couple top spots. In fact, he swept round 11 for the heat in the final. Picked up a heat win in round 10 as well, but a second place, Denny O'Gara, changed the complexion a little bit. O'Gara's got more wins on the season as a whole, but O'Gara's missed a race. That's put him behind by more than 100 points. So Gaddis at this point in comfortable position for the championship, so long as there's no major mistakes today. That seems to be the mindset having to be in place. You also have Austin Taylor, who's also missed a race and has picked up one final victory on the season back in round 5, who's right now trying to solidify things over Titus Roberts. Roberts, mind you, very tight in the standings. Titus Roberts starting things off this qualifying session, top of the board in the 52-3s.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers, I mean, that we've talked about, Dominic Gaddis, Danny O'Gara, both drivers that have been super quick all year long and that continue to show their pace. week in, week out. And this weekend we'll see who else can put themselves in the mix here. Dominic Gaddis currently sits in the 4th spot. Hiro Guerra, I don't see him on our timing charts here, Justin. Not sure if he's going to take part of this race here today. Like you mentioned, he's not in the championship fight. I don't see O'Gara on the timing charts. Roberts, though, is out there, and he's currently the quickest out there on the racetrack.
Austin Taylor's also out there too, but the highest he can finish in the championship is 3rd. How things are looking in the standings. 16 karts are out there, including of note like Simon Alec, who did not take part in most of the morning event after being one of the championship competitors in micro to start most of the season. Also of note, drivers like Jordan Lapham have picked up a lot of pace. Lapham 6th in the standings entering today, but an average finish around the middle of the top 10, below a top 5 though this season. Looking at 257, that's Dominic Gaddis. He's now top of the board, 51.365 with about 2 minutes to go in the session.
Two minutes to go left in this session, and again, it's just getting comfortable at this point here. You've had one practice session to really get up to grips with the racetrack, and now it's time to start trying to do what you know here today. Again, at most club races and at most club races that I've been to, there's been either a whole day of practice the day prior or even the day of. There's, I believe, 2 warm-up sessions and a qualifying session. Here at the Indy Kart Challenge, there's only 1. So a lot of people like to come throughout the week and practice on the layout. And again, depending on when the layout is available for everybody to practice on is when we'll see people start to kind of get to grips with this racetrack. And again, for the MPG Academy boys, no issues. Dominic Gaddis continuing to improve his gap of 50.950 that time around. He improves at 50.784 with 48 seconds left in this qualifying session.
Time blistering away so far. Gaddis having that cushion by near 2/10, yes, as mentioned. Of note, some of the others up front. Dalton Sears is amongst those in the top 5. Titus Roberts currently in the top 5. Feitsteiner currently holding on to 6th. Lem Stoner just picked up 2 spots in the last lap he turned around the racetrack too. See them trying to work their way through Sector 3 on your screen. Very rhythmistic, very hard to be able to make passes here today. That's been one of the major mindsets. It's been hard to get a drag race. For the front straightaway, pardon me. Dominic Gaddis, 50.442. Taylor had bumped himself up to 2nd, but 0.3 up. Gaddis is not easy to stop as the checker flag now waving. Some drivers will get a chance to turn 1 more.
A couple of drivers will get an extra lap, like you said here. Gaddis is going to be one of those. Taylor is going to be another one of those. Roberts and Laffin as well are going to be the drivers. 4 of them total that are going to be the drivers taking an extra lap here. So we'll see. It looks like for everybody. And again, you talked about how difficult it was to pass at this place here, Justin. It's just, in my opinion, because of how flowy this racetrack is. So putting yourself in a good position in qualifying is going to be critical. Gaddis goes even quicker that time around. A 50.442. He holds on to the pole position. For Austin, Taylor across the line, 2nd. Sears back to Lappin. Roberts, Feichtinger, Hendrickson, Stoner to King, Willie to Mole, Simon Ellick, Zeal, Call, Wade, and back to Schnelter. Schneltlers there, sorry. Your 16 drivers in the 206 Sportsman.
It's not what I believe you're referring to, but yes, that's already the close of this grouping of drivers in this pack. 16 strong. It should be an exciting set of races for 206 Sportsmen today. Now remember, these drivers today are competing for, on top of points and championships, the chance to be able to secure a large turkey for a feature win, a medium turkey for a 2nd place run, and 3rd place a Cornish hen, a part of the race festivities today, part of some of the prizes being released for the top runners. So Watch for that throughout today as 206 Cadet now hits the racetrack for their qualifying rotation. Now, how have the Cadets raced it out? Hodges has led the way in the standings. Regan Hodges in those standings. Regan Hodges so far has also missed the last round, but is already in position for the clinch. Patrick McNeely, who took away one of the championships in the last moments because of drops earlier today, is in second in those standings as well. Has Christopher Heinzen to battle with still by less than 100 points for second spot in the standings. So there is still a fight there, but the 767 still not at the facility. A lot of the air drivers who raced earlier today, now the 767 is populated, I should correct myself. The other drivers today, a lot of competitors trying to gain some experience to end off this season here in 206 Cadet.
Yeah, a lot of drivers looking to get themselves within a good finish. And we talked about it, right? It's championship weekend here, the turkey race. A lot of turkeys being given out, but with this 206 Cadet, I guess this 206 Cadet day of or session of racing. My apologies here. McBride, McNeely, Fox, Diesel, Maxwell, Hendrickson, Rittenhouse, Geist, Hale, Waite, Hall, and Heinzen. The 11 drivers in this 206 Cadet class getting set to take the green flag in this qualifying session. So we'll see how it kind of all shapes up for them. And championship weekend here at the Indy Kart Challenge. Already some turkeys were given out to those winners and to those podium finishers there as well. So we'll see who is going to take home a turkey with them later on today.
Get themselves secured a nice meal for their families later on, absolutely. But hey, it's been some fun racing. Remember, earlier on in the day, the morning sessions did have tire warming added to the pace laps. We'll see if that's becoming the case here today for the afternoon session, but it's 60 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a lot better than the 40 degrees it was during qualifying earlier today.
Yeah, definitely heating up here a lot more than what it was earlier. Obviously, still much cooler weather than than I don't even want to say the norm because of how cool it is in Indiana at this time of year. So, yeah, just I guess a lot cooler than what I'm used to being from Texas. So they're gonna see. This is probably for the Indy locals. Definitely just another day for them. Here, Justin, there was another type of, I guess, turkey that was given out. The Cornish hen. Is that some type of chicken or is that some type of turkey?
That's a chicken, I believe, because let me double check that. Cornish hens are a chicken. Do you know what a hen is? A chicken hen.
A hen. I would assume. Yeah.
It's basically that, which basically, again, chickens, male, female, the female usually is the hen. And the Cornish game hens are a variety of broiler chicken you can basically have in that regard. So a Cornish hen is basically a smaller chicken.
Hey, you learn something new every day. I appreciate that there, Justin. So I was super confused, I won't lie, in the morning, the sessions with the Cornish hen and with what the turkey was. But luckily for all the drivers on the racetrack, they're going a lot faster than what a chicken would run without their head. So they're doing a good job so far. At the moment, McBride, the quickest on the racetrack, of 53.631. Back to Fox and to McNeely, your top three so far on the racetrack.
So the fast time of 53.631 by McBride for the time being, of no grace and weight. It's about half a track back from majority of the competitors. Just jumped up to fourth, in fact, the 55-second bracket. It's a lot of time spread. Grace Geist has yet to record a time on the pylon. Still keeping an eye, though, on the cart on screen. I believe that's Fox you're looking at, yes. Once those zipping around, and we've seen James Fox earlier today just outright domination station in their race in terms of some of the classes. We'll see if that carries over to the afternoon session with the check flag waving. No change up the top. Fox went 2/10 slower. McNeely secures third. McBride secured the pole for now. We'll see if Grayson Waite changes that. Waite coming across the stripe. This grouping around. Diesel Maxwell stays 7th. Rittenhouse and Hendrickson 6th and 5th respectively. And here comes Tate Hall, secure 8th as well. So it looked like this time the third lap was the charm. Third and fourth laps were the charm for these drivers now that it's much hotter for the track temp.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm still debating if we're going to see, and I think we will probably see faster lap times here in this afternoon session that we saw in the morning couple of sessions. Again, variety of classes and variety of weights and whatnot. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out here in Whiteland, Indiana. A little bit of a pause in the action here. That was your 206 cadets, and we'll wait out for the next session to hit the racetrack here in a couple of moments.
So your qualifying for 206 cadet looks like this. McBride, Fox, McNeely up front. Then Waite, followed by Kyle Hendrickson, Rittenhouse and Maxwell, Hall, Heinzen in 9th. Miles Hale finished down in 10th, and Grace Geist did not record a time in the session. Believe we did see a cart laid out on the racetrack. So for the time being, we are in a bit of a holding pattern for just a split moment here as they clean up the carts. Just about set to go, though, for 206 medium. And here they go. 206 medium now getting the command to go on the racetrack. Elijah Fox came into today leading that championship, already mathematically clinching that last round. Brandon Johnson still holding on to second, though. Jared Howerton looking for a chance to rip that away after Johnson's 12th place finish in round 11 last time out. Levi Wilbur also in the conversation for the second spot of the championship standings. Depending on what happens, Braden Heber on screen was last time out's final winner. So Elijah Fox, at the very least, securing a couple championships entering this week. That's going to be very helpful for the resume, so to speak, to be able to win multiple championships.
Yeah, we'll see if Eli is out there on the racetrack. Of course, he missed the light race earlier on today
Oh,
as somebody puts it in the wall. Yeah, 2 drivers have put it in the wall here early on in this one. Can't see the numbers quite with the barriers in the way, but man, oh man, not how you want to start off the qualifying session before even we get going with the racing action. That was already chaotic for a couple of drivers there, Justin.
A chaotic start to the session, as already 2 drivers likely seeing their sessions come to a close with hard hits to the barriers. We'll see what Heber puts the tempo to start off the session, though. So already a minute and a half burned off the clock. 52.541 is the benchmark. And expecting those times as expected to go quicker. But obviously a lot of kart cleanup already having to take place for some of the other drivers here. And this changes a bit of the game plan. That was Mayfield and Nostman, it appears. The 28 and the 73 are the only other drivers who are yet to take a time, or at least seems one of those drivers did get going. Nostman did not get going.
Yeah, so one of those drivers that was probably involved there in that incident. I mean, we're assuming here it was Nostman. That was one of those. We think Mayfield was another one of those drivers that was involved there in that incident early on this one that put them both out of contention here. Again, talk about Heber. We saw him earlier on today throughout the morning warm-up sessions. I believe for the light race, we saw Heber in that one. We saw Baird in that one as well. Howerton, 2 Howertons in this one now. Dylan Howerton and Jared Howerton. I would assume brothers racing here today and here in this race. Go back to Stahl, Dorsey, Mayfield, Enderle as well. 9 drivers, obviously 10 drivers total. Nossman, the only one that couldn't make it around here for the duration of this qualifying session. So we'll see how it all plays out here, but Heber already pulling away from the rest of the field, 51.991. And again, one of the things that I want to point out here, Justin, is the differences that we're seeing out there on the racetrack. These two drivers much closer together, kind of trying to work the toe off of each other, as compared to Heber, who's out there on his own, just setting in lap time after lap time, just really on his own, as Baird now goes to the top of the timing charts. Howerton and Johnson were the two that we saw there working together. So this is just a difference of strategy and a difference of game here as well to what everybody else is doing out there on the racetrack.
And remember, we've seen Baird last qualifying sessions do very well in their respective group and then proceed to get passed and freight trained by 5 different drivers in 2 laps. Gavin Baird trying to avoid that circumstance here in this one, especially in 206 medium. Less than a minute to go on the clock, though. Looking at a couple of the drivers currently grouped together. That includes Braden Johnson's 141X. This time around, Jared Howerton and Braden Johnson do not move up spots. Dylan Howerton does move up to 4th with his cross of the stripe to be able to get himself into the 51.9s.
A couple of these drivers already. These are some of the quickest lap times that we've seen all day long. Again, your senior mediums here in Heber working on his own. Has 0.02 of a second to find if he wants to snag away the pole position from Baird. As this session continues, down to 8 seconds. We'll see if Heber can get one more lap this time around. It's going to be close. Coming to the line. Did he get the checkered flag? He did. Retakes the pole position, though, by 0.3 of a second. Goodness gracious. Howerton crosses the line now, only second quickest. Baird only up to second by 0.1 of a second. Take a bow. Braden Heber, goodness gracious, what a flyer, of 51.193.
So Heber backing up the pace we've seen last time out from the 8 Kart. It's been several races, but as of late has picked up the tempo. Moved to the top of the board in his respective runs. So it's Heber, Baird, Howerton, Jared Howerton specifically in the 3rd spot. Brendan Johnson and Dylan Howerton amongst the top 5 for the session. Brendan Mayfield, after the issue at the start of the session, did get the 6th. Stowell and Dorsey, Interline, and then Nostman did not set a time after a flurry of kart activity. See people in the barrier. Already, our next group, ready to go, no hesitation. And no troubles, it's 206 junior time. 206 juniors, Lucian Laser leading what's been an interesting championship, because throughout this season, it's not necessarily been a championship controlled by the people who have won, or the majority of the runs, or have, it's been more so of a season where a lot of the part-timers have picked up wins this season here in the campaign, Caleb. But Lucian Laser's been the most consistent out of everyone. 2,318 points. He still has less than 200 points to gap over Evan Patton for today. So it's going to be a tight battle for those drivers. See what happens. Laser, mind you, lost at least 40, 50 points because he finished 11th in both of his races in round 11.
Yeah, again, for a lot of these drivers, you talked about it earlier, it's just a critical time, for a lot of them to really put in good performances here to end up the year. So it's going to be important for a lot of them. A couple of familiar faces that I know I'm familiar with. Landon Boer, obviously a driver that's really shown his pace all year long at the national scene with the MPG Academy boys. So we'll see what he can do. Lucian Laser, I mean, every time that we talk about 206 racing, you think about this kid in the number 8 New Gen machine. I expect him to be really quick here as well. Maxi, as well, another one, Isaiah Maxi, a driver that we talk about here often at the Indy Kart Challenge. And, the list goes on and on with everybody here this weekend and the drivers that are going to have good pace as this weekend goes on. But we'll see how it's going to be. Again, I'm expecting a very almost like a speedway type of race with the straightaways and how long they are and how fast and flowy some of these corners are. But I've already heard from people that are at the track this weekend of how grippy the track is starting to become, and especially in the places where you have that black liner on the racetrack as well. That's provided a lot of grip for a lot of these drivers. Again, you have your regular asphalt, and then these patches of very dark asphalt, the darker asphalt, the repaved parts of the racetrack. Again, I've already heard some reports from people at the track of how grippy this racetrack can get as the weekend goes on.
We've seen that really come into play already with the amount of grip and the amount of speed carried by some of these drivers through the corners. Compared to some of the others where I'm noticing some of them bouncing 3 wheels off the tires. It's been an interesting weekend so far, to say the very least, for these competitors. Some of the other drivers starting to work together. Maxi still top of the board after 2 laps for now, though. Laser Buher, followed by Mole and Carson Benjamin. Rounding out the top 5, you're half a second the difference between 1st and 5th for the time being. And, one kart squished off the track, trying to work with someone else. Instead, they go zoom off the track to the left.
Unfortunate. No idea who that was there. Finding themselves off the racetrack, but not how you want to kind of get on in this qualifying session there.
I was about to ask before that, do you want to work together with a group or somebody or anybody on the racetrack, or do you want to be on your own? I think that kart's going to say, I want to be on my own now. And it definitely is on its own now.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends. In my opinion, on a racetrack like this that's so fast and that's so flowy, especially with a fast sweeping corners, especially that back straightaway that's so long, I'd really like to work with somebody else and have somebody and use them as a drafting partner and pushing him along as well. But you also need your space throughout this fast kind of infield section with all the hairpins and whatnot. So it's going to be super important to really give yourself enough room so you don't trip over anybody else's toes, but also putting yourself in a position to be able to draft off of somebody else, especially when you get to this back section. This track has really provided some great racing action, but another thing I want to note here, Justin, we're using some of the cutoff areas on this racetrack as well. It's obviously all asphalt, but with the parts of the track that aren't used as much, it could be a lot more bumpier than what we're seeing than the regular racetrack that is obviously what's supposed to be maintained rather than not. That's like the main priority. So for a lot of people, I've heard already that this racetrack is super bumpy, but again, it's providing some great racing action with the banked corner that is, it's what Whiteland, Indiana is known for. So to me, that's the coolest thing to see here this weekend. But already, session is over. Lasers at the top of the qualifying session with a provisional pole position. Landon Boer in second, back to Benjamin, to Patton, and to Mole. Your top 5 in this one.
The rest of the order includes Maxi back to 6th after starting up front. Dunn, McCann, Payne, and Santos the top 10. Hardin, Ward, Dodd, and Codd round out the running order for 206 junior qualifying. That brings up 2 more groupings to go. 206 Masters and KA Senior Masters are due up on the racetrack next. So we'll see those drivers soon getting the chance to roll in as the last of the karts making their way off the racetrack right now. So we'll take a moment for that. But how are things going for 206 Master? Well, for their respective seasons so far, Troy Toney leading the point standings. That's by just over 100 points over Matt Geist. Matt Geist missed last round critically for the championship standings. J. Brian Williams picked up the win both in round 10 and 11 for sweeps. That has seen him also solidify 3rd spot by a sizable margin. And we'll see what happens for the racing today. But for Troy Toney, a chance for the championship after picking up a hot spell during rounds 7 through 9. We'll see what happens here today. A bit of a larger grouping. Heading onto the racetrack now for 206 Master.
Yeah, we'll see what these Masters drivers can do here today. I know a couple of notables already, some familiar faces that we're used to seeing across the national level here as well. One of the big notables I know that I saw on the entry list here today was Jorge Ruiz from Georgia. Just came off a shoulder surgery after having a nasty flip at the Cup Karts North America South Division over at the Daytona International Speedway earlier on this year. Had a flip there. Shoulder surgery shortly after. Again, still very sore, and he raced the Grand Nationals earlier this year, or a couple of weeks ago, I should say, and now he's here this weekend once again and testing out a new chassis with the new Gen team. I believe still on an MGM Espionage machine, but we'll see how we can do. Again, a couple of other notables, Andy O'Gara, track owner and racer as well here this weekend. And I guess Scott Hamble, one of the drivers that's been super quick already this weekend, and he's shown his pace in the 206 heavy race.
Yeah, we know that 206 for Hamble going to be very difficult to slow down here today in the run. So we'll see how the qualifying fares out for these drivers as they come across the stripe this time by. Starting things off in the 53.9 is Hamble to set the table setter. Andy O'Gara amongst those, the 56-second bracket. He's in the 54s with Troy Toney. So a couple different speed brackets solidify themselves as most of the field is staying for some order in this train, or some form of a train, just not a very well connected choo-choo train.
Yeah, definitely not connected at all at this point. I mean, you have a variety of speeds, like you said there, Justin. A 53.905 for Hamble, a 53.96 for Godsey. Then you go back to Williams, a 54.3. Back to Tony, a 54.4, and to Ruiz, your top five with a 54.5. So, a very, I guess, a big variety when we talk about speed, right? But across the line this time now, Godsey improves to 52.884. A couple of others as well improving. Andy O'Gara up to 7th, 54.341. As yellow flags fly up in the air here in the first sector. One driver off the racetrack, they're able to get back going again. But not how you want to kind of have this race progress for you, or have this session progress for you.
Yeah, absolutely at this point. Melvin Godsey, top of the board for now. As we continue to work our way around the racetrack with this grouping. So, overall though, when a group like this is this big of a size, we'll see racing really solidifies itself. J. Brian Williams, who's been on a tear lately, tears himself top of the board, half a second up.
That's a very big, sizable gap there. Again, this track has really shown it all, but for Williams, that is by far the biggest gap that I think we've seen all day, especially early on in the qualifying sessions. Half a second in qualifying. Insane by Williams.
Yeah, now it's the matter of will that stay on the board with 1 minute to go. J. Brian Williams able to pull away from the field last time out with that style of pace. This time around, we'll see if anyone's got a response on their fourth times around. Godsey does respond to get back within 2/10 just about. Troy Toney gets within 3/10. Scott Hamble gets himself back to the fourth spot in the session.
We'll see time still starting to run out here. This will probably be the last lap for a couple of drivers. 20 seconds left in this qualifying session as everybody else still tries to make some improvements here in this one. Lap time is starting to come down for a lot of drivers here in the midfield. Ruiz able to improve a 53.245. Checkered flag more than likely will be out this time around for everybody. And indeed, checkered flag in the air. Williams still holds on. We'll see if Godsey can improve. Williams goes quicker, a 51.939. Hamble had it for a second. Godsey goes up to third. To Tony, to Spilling, your top five.
Some absolutely blistering pace from J. Brian Williams to start things off from 206 Master. And that sets the tone for later on today. We'll see if that tone remains the case. Him and Scott Hamble seem to be the ones to beat, at least based on the raw speed counter. And we'll see if that carries over. It's Williams, Hamble, Godsey, Tony, Landon, your top five. Then Spilling, Ruiz, Andy O'Gara, Snetler, Michael Schaefer, Lynn, Owens, and John Dorsey rounds out the entries for today for 206 Master. So those drivers now get themselves off the racetrack. One more group to go in the pen. It's KA Senior and the Masters that are due up next. And those are combined races, mind you. KA Senior has been led throughout the season in points by Lane Gibbs, who has the lead by less than 100 points. 2,225 points to AJ Lund, who picked up a heat wins, 2,176. They come out of the pit road area, come back on the racetrack right here. Lund looking to see he can pull in a big close-up in the standings. KA Senior, or rather KA Masters, has had one full-time driver this season, Deshona Nelson. And Nelson already securing the championship. It's the only driver to compete in each and every one of the rounds this season for the point standings. And we're underway for our final qualifying session.
Yeah, final qualifying session before we get into the heat racing action. And again, that'll be behind the paywall. For those of you wanting to watch on live and follow along live later on today for $9.99 a month, become a KC Premium member and watch all the racing action live, which will go green at about 3 p.m. Eastern time. So after the session is concluded in about 4 minutes, it'll be 10 minutes until we get straight into that. But a couple of notables out here on the racetrack early on there. Justin, Race Liberante racing this weekend. So good to see Race back on the racetrack for the MPG Academy team, part owner here this weekend. So good to see Race out there. And again, a couple of other of his drivers as well. Lane Gibbs, one of the ones that's out there. AJ Lund again out here. Carson Sauter to Finley. Again, Perry, Santos, Rudder to Heber, and to Gallian as well. 10 drivers, 12 drivers total in this field. 2 transponders not registered with a name so far, but good to see a race out there on the racetrack. And again, if Chase's trackside, he should have probably gotten himself in the seat here this weekend as well and gone at it with Race here at their home track.
We'll see how the times circulate for some of these drivers then. Lane Gibbs currently top. That changes with Lund to the top of the board. Lane Gibbs all the way down to 5th spot on the second time around. 45.7s being set by Lund and Liberante at the time being for those drivers. And Lund, mind you, we touched upon this for a moment. He's picked up 1 win in a final this season. Looking to change that statistic here today, especially with drivers like Liberante and more making it competitive. By the way, the 2 transponders at the bottom, Simon Ellick and Nelson, are those 2 that ended up having that issue that's been sorted. Those at the bottom of the pylon are your Masters drivers. Liberante, top of the board, 45.477.
Yeah, the number 1 plate of Race Liberante doing a good job so far in this KA Senior qualifying session to put himself ahead of the rest here by a tenth and a half almost for Race. And again, a special livery this weekend for Race, the MPG Academy livery there, and that's a really cool livery as well, and to see hit the racetrack. Not sure if that's a KR or a Race Factory go-kart machine. Obviously, a team that Race used to work with chassis and whatnot, but seems to be working out in his favor no matter what it is. A 45.104 so far for Race, continuing to open up his gap, 0.3 of a second now ahead of AJ Lund.
Coming up to 1 minute to go in this one. Liberante still up by 0.3 in the session. That one kart just flying and flying away, going to make him a threat, to say the least, for the race. Liberante, keep an eye on him the rest of the way. He has already picked up one win earlier this season in a final, one heat win in the next event, for finishing 7th in that last of the events. Blake Finley just jumped up to 2nd, though. Picked up a lot of time. AJ Lund falling down the pylon as one kart is off there on the racetrack we just seen. Already seen a lot of drivers pick up the tempo to close up the session at the right time. Going to be checker flag coming up for most of these drivers, though.
Critical laps here left to go, so we'll see what Race Liberante can do. Time will run out this time around. Race will be the first one to get the checkered flag in the air. And indeed, a 44.985, and doesn't improve that time around. AJ Lund up to 2nd. To Finley, to Sauter, to Gibbs, Santos, Rudder, Perry. Next across going to be Gallion, 9th. Heber in 10th. Nelson and Simon Ellick, your 12 drivers here. How about that for Race Liberante? Not too bad for an old man there for Race. Puts a 10th.5 on the rest of the field.
And sets the tone for later today if Race Liberante can keep that pace going for later on in the day today. Again, that differential 0.168 seconds exactly. Nelson will start on the KA Masters pole as well for their class today. So, that gets us set to go behind the paywall in less than 10 minutes time or so. These karts will go zoom for 206 Sportsman, 206 Cadet, 206 Medium, 206 Junior, 206 Masters, the KA Senior and Masters for third heat races, 5 minutes plus 2 laps again the format. We'll get set to go behind the paywall. You're watching Kart Chaser for coverage of the Indy Karting Challenge. To learn more, go to racewrp.com. Follow Whiteland Raceway Park on social media. Until then, though, we'll see you in just a minute behind the paywall.